Welcome to the session. We start in less than a minute. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar about the energy sector in the Middle East till 2050 and beyond, strategic foresight as a powerful tool. The difficulty of knowing what the future brings us puts people usually at crossroads. So you either are you feel that you should be passive, that you cannot do much about it, and simply wait for what is coming next, or you become active and prepare for the future and actually be part of these people that shape it. For that, you need tools, you need a process, and that's exactly what we'll be covering in today's session. Today's webinar is sponsored by Futures Platform, a leading digital foresight solution provider that helps you discover the future changes and is curated by a team of futurists that we will be meeting today in the session. If you are not able to join the session via Zoom, then you may watch us live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and you can watch the recording on the YouTube channel after this session. It will be recorded and posted there. A couple of admin topics in the beginning. First of all, please confirm to me if you can hear me well by writing something into the chat. Just please type anything in the chat just to make sure that you can hear me well. Mr. Abdul Ghani, Mr. Muad, Mr. Hassam, Mr. Saeed, thank you all. You can all hear me. That's great. Perfect. And if you have any problems or trouble hearing us, please type in the chat again. For the questions, for the people that are watching us via the Zoom platform, please add your questions to the Q&A section. Please don't send the questions in the chat section, but send it in the Q&A section. And please make sure to send your questions as soon as you get these questions. Don't delay it to the end. We will be looking into them throughout the session and we will be answering your questions before the end of the session. For those that are watching us on social media, then please type your questions in the comment section of the live stream, and then we will be going through these during the session and collecting your questions. We'll be happy to answer your questions today, but please make sure that you write it in the Q&A section. To start, to introduce myself, my name is Munif Barakat. I'm from Solarabic, which is the MENA's largest renewable energy and sustainability platform. And we are proud to host world's leaders in their domains that share their knowledge with you, our dear attendees. And for that, you'll get the chance to ask questions and to interact with our speakers. And today we have an amazing group of futurists that will speak to you about the topic of foresight as a strategic tool, and we will be going through these topics very, very soon as I introduce our speakers. So first of all, I'm glad to have Mr. Sako Koskinen. He's the Global Sales Director at the Futures Platform. He has 20 years of experience in foresight, project management, consultancy, facilitation, training, and coaching in various organizations with over 5 years serving the public sector. And then we will have Dr. Tuamo Kosa, who is the futurist and the content director at the Futures Platform. He's the co-founder of the Futures Platform, leading futurist and the content team director in the platform. He has 20 years of experience in strategic foresight, horizon scanning, scenarios planning, future studies methodologies development, and then a lot of lecturing about this topic. Dr. Tuomo has written dozens of research papers and 4 books related to the Foresight topic, and he has a lot to share with you in today's session. Our third speaker is Suha Rashid. Suha Rashid is a futurist and foresight analyst at the Futures platform. She's an engineer and she's a futurist and foresight analyst with 12 years of experience in strategy, foresight, business development, and human resource management. And I am happy to start the session with Suha directly after we get to ask you a couple of questions, please, just to know from what country you join us today and from what industry as well. So you should see on your screen a question asking you to specify the industry that you work in. For those that are attending from the social media and watching our live stream, please write the industry in the comments of the live broadcast. We'll give you 10 more seconds, please. We see that most of the attendees actually here, more than half of the attendees are from the renewable energy sector, and a big portion as well from engineering and then from academia. Everyone is welcome. In today's session, I will be ending this poll now to ask you the second question to know from what country you join us or from what region you join us today. Please, if you are on the social media, just type it in the comments section. Just please write the country that you joined us from. As I can see that the majority of the people, we have approximately 30% from GCC region, approximately 30% from Jordan, Syria, Palestine, and Lebanon, from Egypt and Sudan, from Tunisia and Morocco, from Libya and Algeria, and we see some people from Europe as well. So I wish to welcome you all in this session, and I won't be taking much of your time for this introduction. We'll be handing over directly to Suha, please. Suha, welcome, and we're happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Munif. Can you hear and see me?
Yes, we can see you clearly.
So this part will be in Arabic. It's a short intro in Arabic, and then we will switch to English. So those of you who do not speak Arabic, please stay with us. This will be brief. أنا اسمي سهى راشد، بشتغل فيتشرست وفورسايت أناليست في شركة فيتشرز بتاعتي. النهارده هنتكلم عن يعني إيه فورسايت وإيه أهميته وليه لازم نستخدمه علشان نقدر ناخد قرارات أحسن. الفورسايت إحنا بنسميه بالعربي استشراف المستقبل. يعني إيه استشراف المستقبل؟ استشراف المستقبل هي طريقة تفكير بتخلينا ناخد قرارات أحسن نبني بيها مستقبل أفضل. ده ببساطة شديدة. مشكلتنا لما بنيجي نتكلم أو نفكر في المستقبل بنبقى في الواقع بتاع إن إحنا كل قراراتنا عن المستقبل بس كل معلوماتنا هي عن الماضي. فدايما بنفكر في المستقبل كامتداد للحاضر وللماضي. وفي الحقيقة ده احتمال، يعني هو ممكن ده يحصل، بس هو ده احتمال من الاحتمالات. فاحنا لما نيجي نفكر في المستقبل لازم نتخيل إنه في عدد من الاحتمالات ممكن تحصل، ولازم إحنا ناخد قرار يساعدنا نبقى يعني مستعدين لكل الاحتمالات دي. المشكلة الثانية اللي بتواجهنا لما بنيجي نفكر في المستقبل إن غالباً بيبقى عندنا أحاسيس سلبية، وإن ناس كتير عندها نفس الإحساس ده مش صدفة. ده علشان الناس الوحيدين اللي عملوا لنا صورة ملموسة نقدر نشوفها وشافها ناس كتير هما الناس بتوع أفلام الخيال العلمي اللي غالباً بيكلمونا عن نهاية العالم. فللأسف يعني هو نهاية العالم اللي إحنا بنسميه الكولابس سيناريو ده واحد من الاحتمالات. واحنا لازم نكون فعلا مستعدين لان احنا نواجه التحديات عشان ما نكونش في موقف زي اللي احنا فيه دلوقتي مع انتشار الوباء العالمي، لان احنا يعني اللي احنا فيه ده هو نتيجه عدم استعداد للمستقبل. بس زي ما في تحديات في فرص، فلازم برضو نكون مستعدين للفرصه علشان نقتنصها قبل ما يعني بدري في الوقت المناسب، لان لو استنينا لحد ما الفرصه بقت واضحه لكل الناس ده هيكون متاخر. يعني لما بتكلم في الموضوع ده يعني بسأل الناس، يعني لو سألت طفل دلوقتي عنده 10 سنين عن أول تليفون كان عندك موبايل مش هيعرف اسم الشركات دي. ليه؟ عشان الناس دي ما قرتش المستقبل كويس، ما عرفتش تفهم التغييرات اللي هتحصل إيه، وما عرفوش يقروا السيجنالز. فده اللي احنا بنعمله من خلال عمليه استشراف المستقبل. المبادئ اللي هنتكلم عنها النهارده هي مبادئ بتطبق في اي مجال، بس احنا هنطبقها النهارده عملي في مجال الطاقه. والانترستنج في مجال الطاقه ان اول شركات هي استخدمت مبادئ استشراف المستقبل في ان هي تاخد قرارات احسن كانت شركات الاويل اند جاز. فهيبقى انترستنج بالنسبه لنا ان احنا نشوف ازاي الشركات دي ممكن تستغل نفس المبادئ دي علشان تضمن استمراريتها الفتره اللي جايه وتقدر ان هي تواصل وجودها ونجاحها. اللي هيدينا البرزنتيشن النهارده دكتور تومو كوسا زي ما قال منيف، هو من الناس الاكسبرتس في المجال بتاعنا، واللي درس فورسايت دراسه اكاديميه، غالبا هيكون درس نظرياته وقرا كتبه وقرا ريسيرش كتير اللي هو عمله. فاتمنى جدا ان انتوا تركزوا معاه وتستفيدوا النهارده علشان نقدر كلنا نبني مع بعض مستقبل افضل. وشكرا على الوقت الصغير اللي كنا معاكم. ودلوقتي هسيبكم مع زميلي ساكو who will be talking to us about what we do at the Futures Network. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we are happy to have you on board, Sako.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Monef, and thank you, Soha. So I will be telling you a few words about the company and the background where we come from. So we are based in Helsinki, Finland, and the company background actually is very much rooted in the academic world of strategic foresight and future studies. So the company itself was in fact founded by Dr. Tuomo Kuosa, who will be talking in a minute. Him and his colleagues actually founded the company when they were working in the Turku University Futures Research Center, helping different types of organizations to succeed in strategic and foresight planning and work. And during the consultancy, they were looking for new agile, innovative digital tools to help them in this work, and to help them also to get people aboard and collaborate. And they couldn't find any tools such, so they actually developed their own. They got some software engineers in and created a tool to help them in the work. So the DNA of the company, I said, very much in the academic world and strategic foresight. The company was founded 2016. I joined. I was actually one of the first employees in the company, being really honored to be part of this journey, and it's been a great journey. We help about 100 customers globally at the moment. We work in your region with the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology in Saudi Arabia. We work with the Dubai Executive Councils and several other organizations in the region. We also work with EU, European Commission, with different energy corporations such as E.ON. We have altogether about 10,000 foresight professionals that we proudly serve every day. And the typical teams, I would say, that we work with within the organizations are teams such as strategy, innovation, research and analysis, and naturally foresight and futures teams. We serve both public domain and private clients as well. But in the center of what we do, as Monif told in the beginning, is our artificially intelligent powered software solution. You will get a glimpse of it today, but we're happy to share about that later on as well. But very vocal, very central to what we do, and very essential is our team of futurists. So today we have Dr. Tuomo with us, and he'll be talking soon and telling you more about how to implement and how to use foresight successfully. But just to highlight that there is a team behind all we do, and the team is highly educated actually in the Turku University, which is world known for future studies. But that's enough about the company and the background. I'm now happy to share the screen to Dr. Tuomo Kuosa. So Tuomo, please, you can take over.
Thank you, Saku and Monef. I will start sharing my screen. Yes, hi everyone. My pleasure to be here. I'm Dr. Tuomo Kuosa from Futures Platform, as I was introduced already. One more thing to add to the presentation. I'm also working as a docent of strategic foresight in the Finnish Defense University. And you can see on the right side of the slide a couple of my books that are related to the strategic foresight topic. But let's go to the main theme. And starting from oil industry and the usage of foresight successfully in oil industry in the past. The oil production, it has been rising in the past quite swiftly, but slowing a little bit in the recent years. The oil prices have been fluctuating throughout the history quite a lot. We can see in the figure all these major crises, economical crises, wars, and especially the oil embargo in early 1970s. Some companies in the energy sector have been using foresight very successfully. The best example is Shell. Actually, the scenario method was developed in the US military during the Second World War, and it was basically utilized in the military context in the beginning. But Pierre Wack, he was the mastermind who actually took the scenario method to the corporate context when he was working with the Shell board of directors. And Wack was able to convert the thinking of the company towards a more scenario way of assessment. So he was able to convince the board of directors to start developing 2 alternative scenarios, because it was very much possible in his mind that we may end up to war on oil, or actually the embargo may actually go forward at the early 1970s. And he started the process of developing 2 alternative scenarios where the scenarios were taken to the very practical level. So he was assessing together with oil drillers from the very beginning the alternatives of these two different scenarios. So how they should be prepared for these potential 2 scenarios. One scenario was saying that everything will go as it has been going, and the other scenario was saying that the oil price will rise significantly, and Arabic countries will prohibit any usage of the Arab countries' oil. And the second scenario actually took place when the Yom Kippur War took place in 1973. And the oil price skyrocketed from $2.50 to $11. The situation before the oil crisis was that Shell was seventh biggest oil company in the world, but after the crisis, prior to 1890, Shell became the second biggest oil producer in the world. So that was a very successful usage of scenario method foresight in corporate context. And after that, the scenario method and also other types of foresight methods have been taken to the corporate context step by step. It has been assessed how the foresight usage has been making companies more successful in the past years. René Rohrbeck has made a study where he assessed the usage of foresight in different types of companies, and also comparing that to the success of the companies. And in his study, he found out that usage of foresight is actually increasing 33% of the profitability, and capitalization of the growth is significantly higher in companies that are advanced in foresight. Now, when we are looking at the oil industry, the different assessments are varying a little bit when the peak oil is estimated to take place. But mostly the assessment goes so that it's either on 2028 or at latest at 2040. But in between these years, the peak oil or the reduction of the production and demand is starting to take shape. So the world is changing, and the key reasons behind that, why the oil industry and the energy sector is actually being reshaped. There is firstly the climate change, which is a very big thing, of course. It's related to the value change, and to the politics, and to the economics, and all of the aspects. Then we have the technological change, which is allowing us to take new types of methods, approaches to the usage of and production of energy. And these are actually bringing forward a lot of things that are reshaping the industry. So renewable energy production is going, it's going forward step by step. We are seeing fuel switching taking place. Clean tech technologies are being developed at increasing pace. Electric mobility, that is something that is fastly growing. Many types of disruptive technologies are shaping the industry. Scientific development is actually backing up not only the climate change related research, but especially the technological change. And all this is leading to social, ethical value changes that we can see. We see potential environmental and Pigovian taxes taking place, and especially CO2 taxation in different forms can be estimated to go forward, and new business models, of course, taking shape. And behind all this is VUCA world. And VUCA world is described by 4 different aspects. Firstly, our human-centric world is becoming more volatile, meaning that everything is, all human-related processes are more dynamic. Secondly, uncertainty is increasing. All the cycles and trends are shorter, and our ability to make forecasts based on historical knowledge, data points, are providing us less and less value. So the trends are shorter and there are more and more uncertainties. Thirdly, the world is changing from complicated towards complexity, meaning that the change is not only, or the system is not only complicated, but it is also changing all the time. And that's what complexity refers to. And fourthly, the world is ambiguous, meaning that all the changes that we see are something that they are unique, and we don't have ready-made definitions or borders around these new emerging issues. So we need to observe things and name the changes that we see when they are happening. And this is actually something that we do in my team all the time. So I have a team of eight graduated futurists and we are actually studying on daily basis various themes and naming these changes as what we observe. This work of observing the things around us, where we have these various emerging issues, that is called horizon scanning. In horizon scanning, the idea is that the customer has a field or industry, which is the white area in this figure. And inside the industry, let's say it is energy sector, you know what are the key drivers and trends inside the industry. And these are the bigger circle. It means it's a bigger driver of change. But then there are outside your own industry, there are dozens of other fields and industries. And usually the biggest changes that take place are usually emerging inside some other industries and fields. The biggest changes that surprise you are usually not generated. They are not emerging inside your own industry. What surprises you is something that has grown somewhere else. And there are dozens of industries, other industries. And inside these other industries, there are thousands or tens of thousands of ways of doing things, emerging issues, changes in different trends, a lot of things that are going on. And that is not usually public knowledge. So there are a lot of things that are hidden beneath the changes in these industries. Some things are public knowledge, but there is so much knowledge that it is very hard to actually grasp the key points from that change. So horizon scanning and Foresight is helping the customer to see the big picture, the large amount of changes that are taking place, emerging issues, and prioritize issues from this large data set. Which of these have the potential that, let's say, for example, COVID-19, that was a very small, distant thing, just a little bit over a year ago. In January 2020, COVID-19 was still a Chinese thing, medical Chinese thing, very far away, and it was not interested to almost any industry. And very dramatically, all that changed. So it was a very small circle far away, but then it became a large circle like this red circle here, and it broke the boundaries of all industries and started to reshape the world economy, all industries. And there are a lot of things like that which have the same potential. Some of these very small circles have the potential that they become major new changes. And these can be called wild cards. I will go to this topic later. Once we do assessment of the probable future, one method to map the things that we have observed is to use a future triangle. Future triangle is not actually a very, it's not a very precise method. It's more likely a way of thinking and clustering the things that we have observed. But the idea here is actually quite smart. So there are three corners in future triangle, which all are affecting the probable future. All of these corners have sort of power vectors, pulling or pushing the probable future to some direction. And one of the corners is weight of history. In the weight of history, if we talk about energy sector, there are things that are blocking the change or keeping us where we are. And there are things such as current combustion engines in cars. That is a thing that is keeping us where we are. The petroleum supply network that we have at the moment, that is actually keeping us where we are. The existing infrastructure, the existing oil reserves that they are left, and that sort of things. All these are keeping us where we are. That is one corner. Another corner is the technological change. So that is the push of change. And there are many other things that are pushing the change to one direction or another. But anyways, it it forces us to a new type of ways of doing things. The third corner is pull of the future. And then there we have different visions, wishes, expectations, beliefs. For example, climate change must be stopped. That's a globally shared understanding. CO2 emissions needs to be reduced. That is one vision that we are commonly sharing. So all these are affecting the probable future. We have objectives, shared objectives, and Saudi Arabia Vision 2030, that is also pulling the future towards certain direction. All these three different corners are pulling or pushing the probable future to some direction. And you can name the things that there are under each of these three corners. When we do assessment in short term, mid term, long term, we can say that we are able to do in short term, we are able to understand the probable future relatively well, usually inside industries. So companies are quite often able to make, let's say, 3 years strategies where the different trends and drivers are named, and it can be called probable. But even in short term, there are always wild cards around us. And some of these wild cards take shape every year. 1 or 2 wild cards take globally shape every year. COVID-19, that took place in 2020. That was the last year's wild card that became reality. We had the wild card pandemic, global pandemic spreading out in our database, and that was something that was used for different assessments. So COVID took place last year. This year, at least one wildcard has already taken place, and that was the Suez Canal crisis, the blockage of the Suez Canal. We may see another wildcard taking shape this year as well. But usually there is at least 1 or 2 wildcards taking shape every year, and these are something that we are not prepared in our probability focused strategies. So we need to assess these wildcards even in short term. But the longer view we take, in mid-range, let's say this is from time 0 to go into time 8, like after 8 years, we start to have a lot of things that are plausible. And it's harder to say what kind of things are actually probable, differentiate probable and plausible. And the further we look, after 10 years, we start to have a very big domain of possible changes taking shape. And it's hard to differentiate probable, plausible, and possible. But of course, we can do that prioritizing, and that helps us to make our assessments and planning. And actually, the Foresight radar that we are providing is actually helping to do that. So the idea is that we take a slide out of these thousands of changes that we can see in short term, mid term, long term, and we prioritize, let's say 20, 30, 50 key changes to one view, one radar overview as a basis of the further analysis. And let's go next to the Foresight radar. Saku, please present the radar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tuomo. Yes, please bear with me a second. I will share my screen and we can now have a look at the radar that we've created for the purpose of this event. Naturally, the platform itself has several other features, but the focal or central part of our platform, the digital Foresight platform, is definitely the Foresight radar, and as Tuomo just explained. Just before we start looking at the different trends on the radar, which are actually represented by these dots, different colored dots, let me explain the overview that you are seeing. So on the left, you can see that we've named this radar Energy Sector 2050, meaning that this radar's time range or horizon goes from 2021 here in the center to 2030 and 2050. So we have here 3 different horizons looking from today to the future. The radar also has different sectors. Idea of the sectors is that they open up the topic, give you, if you like, the 360 overview, almost like a helicopter perspective. And this is very important in Foresight, as Tuomo was discussing before, is that you also trying to look around the industry and the domain to also include trends that might be approaching you from outside of your own domain. And the dots themselves then represent trends. We have given these trends a common denominator phenomenon. And Dr. Tuomo will pick a few trends for the purpose of this presentation. But just to quickly explain the coloring code, we have certain colors for the trends. So the green trends, such as the hydrogen economy here, we call strengthening, meaning that the futurist team has actually kind of given a description of strengthening by impact in a certain time range. The gray ones that you see are what we call weak signals. So these are very early stage, almost like pilot or prototype type of descriptions of trends, and they are called weak signals. These are obviously new typically, and typically they are also kind of science or technology related issues. We obviously have also trends that we can call weakening, something that used to be strengthening and used to be prevailing, but now can be seen as weakening. And also that we have the use of fossil fuels in 29 to 39. And the red ones are what we call wild cards. And these are the disruptive events with low probability, high impact. So these are event descriptions, almost could be compared to mini scenarios. But that's the radar overview. And Tuomo, could you please pick a few one? We can start with the technological change disruptions here in the 1 o'clock. So if you want to pick a few items, I will click on it.
Dr. Tuomo, you are on mute. Would you please unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Tuomo, you're on mute and we can see the screen, but we cannot see the radar. So now the radar is there.
Okay, now you can hear. Very good. Sorry for that. I was muted for a while. So yes, here we have the energy sector radar, and as Saku explained, and I explained earlier. So this is one overview of issues that we have selected to short-term, mid-term, long-term, some key changes that are reshaping the industry. And there are a lot of things that have potential to actually to reshape it very strongly. The hydrogen economy, Saku showed this one already, but this is of course one key way which may actually change, especially the transportation industry and energy supply related to that very big in big time. But it's not sure that hydrogen economy is going to be the leading form of electricity transfer for the vehicles. But it may be that the case. There are many companies and countries which are betting on this. This is going to be the key form of energy transferring. There are other options alongside with the hydrogen economy, of course. At the moment, the electricity cars, the direct electricity seems to be like the winning horse in the field, but there are a lot of dubious on the especially regarding the batteries, the environmental impact of the battery production is especially and the prices of the electric cars. So is it going to be a really successful method of energy transferring in long term? Is that going to be the mass energy or mass transportation trend? We don't know that. We don't know that yet. So hydrogen economy is competing very much with the direct electricity based on batteries. Then we have other forms of energy transferring. So fuel switching, that we know that this is taking shape in the coming years. And this is like a very big, we could also say that this is sort of mega trend, but the third key way which may start leading the way to the energy transferring revolution, maybe the synthetic fuels. Synthetic fuels, which may also be related to the biofuels or, for example, to biodiesel, but especially synthetic fuels have the great potential that those can be used in the existing combustion engine cars. So this would be, if there would be a cheap way to produce synthetic fuels in mass scale, that could be the winner of the new energy transferring system. And so these three, I would say, are very much competing. Which one is going to be the major way of the future transportation energy systems? Then we have a lot of other things that are reshaping or challenging the energy sector. City self-sufficiency. This is a big thing. If it happens, the COVID-19 has actually driven forward the ideas that the self-sufficiency itself should be strengthened throughout the world, and not only national self-sufficiency, but also city level or region level sufficiency. And this is, of course, challenging the existing infrastructures and the commercial ties between energy producers and consumers. So if the sufficiency is actually really going forward, it will challenge the sector. Then we have fusion power. That's a very big promise. It has been a big promise for energy sector since early 1980s, but it seems to go forward. Every 10 years, we see the fusion power technology is actually developing quite big steps. At the moment, we estimate it is in the 2060, 2070, around there, when it could be ready for major production. And if it goes forward, what is needed is helium-3, which can be mined from moon, but by 2060, the moon mining is probably already a standard procedure. So moon mining helium-3 is probably going to be big thing in energy sector. Then, of course, we see the zero emission countries. Many countries have declared themselves as they have the objective of zero emissions, and it's quite often the plan. For example, Norway is planning to do that with the electric cars, for example. So they are outsourcing the emissions to other countries, and inside Norway they are not producing CO2 emissions. But of course, that is a real hypocrisy. in real world, the emissions may be the same or even higher if just the electric cars are produced and batteries produced somewhere else than in Norway. Algae power, this is one wild card, which it's related to the biofuels, of course, but it has a very big potential in long term as well. So we should keep our eye on that as well. Thorium plant, power plants, that is one wild card going forward. But if we look at the electric cars, what could actually strengthen the development of this potential trend is the potential of a forever rechargeable battery. So the battery technology itself is evolving very, very fast. There are a lot of ways how to produce more efficient batteries in the world, and also more batteries that have a smaller economical footprint. Forever rechargeable battery, if this actually takes place, that could lead us to a world where the electric cars, the direct electricity based on batteries is actually the winning horse. But is it electric cars, hydrogen economy, synthetic fuels, or something else? We don't know that yet. Or is it just a combination of all of these? But anyways, the energy sector is getting reshaped in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuomo. And just before we start finishing off, just quickly to say, and definitely exactly like Tuomo was giving the descriptions, and the radar works perfectly in any type of planning situation when you're doing a strategy or creating alternatives for the future, in that then you can activate different types of prioritization and impact analysis on that radar to do the evaluation, the assessment, because that's the very important in Foresight, naturally. But just to conclude, so for all those who are still with us and who are interested, we want to make kind of VIP offer from Helsinki, Finland, from Futures Platform. So if you would like to hear about the trends and see the radar that's relative to your topics, themes, or your industry, we're happy to do that, and we can do it in a private demo and consultation session. So please, Monef is now sharing the kind of the booking link, which you can directly book a meeting, or you can use the QR code as well below. So we are happy to meet with you, and it'd be great to have a discussion on your relevant trends, issues impacting your future. So I want to thank you all from our side. It's been a great honor to be talking to you today. And Monef, do you have a few closing words to say as well? And obviously there's probably questions as well we could answer.
Yeah. Thank you, Saku. Thank you for the presentation. I wish to thank also Dr. Tuomo for his presentation. Very insightful. I think this sort of knowledge is needed for and touches upon all of the industries. All of us, I think, we should be interested and we should be working on this. And that's something that the platform offers. And people, I think something to mention, that people can sign up to the platform for a demo account for 14 days for free, right? But for you, this is like, we get now a generous offer from Saku to actually go first through a conversation with him, one-on-one conversation, to understand why you need this access to this platform, and so you could make the best out of it if you subscribe. Additionally, I wish to thank Suha also for in the beginning for that quick introduction in Arabic. Based on that, we've got a few questions. Hopefully we will go at least through 4 or 5 questions in this session before we close this at the end of the hour. So I'll move in quickly and ask the question from Mr. Abdulghani Nasif, who I think has asked a question that is more towards Dr. Tuomo, saying, does Foresight process depend on machine learning when you make data analysis? And what are the 8 tools that act and superb in doing in forecasting the future? So a little bit more technical, please, Dr. Tuomo, like what are the tools, or do you use machine learning into doing this, or what is your, let's say, what are your tools into achieving such an amazing, let's say, radar like what you have seen? That is, of course, the result of a long process inside that you do.
Yes, thank you for the question. We have a AI-based bot which is making daily-based searches on various topics. So we are actually observing 30 major themes which have a lot of keywords under each of these themes. For example, energy sector is one of these major themes. Then global economy is another, climate change, third one, health, fourth one, and so on. So 30 major themes, and under these there are a lot of sub-themes. And all of these sub-themes, we have a bot which is searching what kind of news have been published and what kind of changes can be identified regarding these changes. So we get a list of links related to these topics every day, and we scroll these through. We make a disruptor alerts for our customers from this large database. So we handpick things that we consider that these are really alarming things. And secondly, once we identify things that we consider that these should be further analyzed and assessed and brought to the database, then we start the production process. And that production process itself, that's a human-centric process. So I have a team of eight futurists and one economist, and we make the assessments. So actually the role of the economist is doing like the econometric modeling, and then we have futurists who are doing like the further studies, and we have made the process so that there are different steps. So one person is doing like the horizon scanning, the next one is doing a draft and the writing process, and then we have a review process and then re-editing. And finally, once the product is published, there is iterative round when we are working together with our expert customers. For example, if we talk about energy sector, we have many energy sector customers, and when we have, for example, their strategy work, or we have a consulting project with them, we come to realize what kind of things they consider key changes in the industry, what they are worried about, what they think that this is like there is nothing new in something, or what they consider that like it's very alarming. All of these issues are something that we are able to identify when we work with the very specific experts in the particular field, and we back to the existing trend descriptions, so we are able to make the edits, and it's an iterative process together with the field specific experts.
Yeah, can I make one addition? Thank you, Dr. Tuomo. Especially we have the AI also we use as a semantic search element. So when a customer uses the platform in the user interface, from the technical perspective, when you're searching for topics, the artificial intelligence will help you in that you can use search words. Based on your search words, it will recommend you also data and issues and items. Yeah, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you for the answers. Let's try, we still have 4 minutes. Let's try at least to answer a couple of questions quickly. This question maybe is more towards you, Sako. From Dina Al-Ma'moon. So she says that the tools are there and the science is there to address, let's say, the climate change. And there is a Paris Agreement for, let's say, to address the climate change as well. So there is buy-in from a lot of parties, governmental and private sector, but the adoption, of these technologies, like what you have demonstrated in the radar, and taking advantage of this is a bit slow. Like kind of there is a lot of talking, but the application itself is a little bit slow, and we don't see a strong action. In the context more, I think she means of the global climate change that we are seeing in the world. So what do you think can we do to make this a little bit faster, or who should take this initiative to push this stronger? Where do you see this coming from, private or public sector more?
Thank you, Dina, for a very, very good question, a very big question indeed. But I would say that regardless of the sector we work in, I think everybody can do it, and this is why we really encourage for studying and learning about foresight. And we see foresight as a great way of to do the change, act on the change daily. So foresight is all about creating the alternative futures, all the visions, like the good visions regarding the climate change, the things we can do as humans. And this is something that we want to see as foresight would be on everybody's agenda, because with foresight and by applying and implementing foresight, indeed you can do daily action towards that preferred future and future view. So we see foresight as a great enabler in this domain. I hope that answered the question.
No, of course. So that's a confirmation that is helpful. I want to move now to a question, please, from Muhammad Habib, who asks, how do you define and plug the trends, for instance, as being weak signal or wildcards? So this category, maybe the categorization process, not the identification process, but the categorization process itself. If you can shed some light on it, how you kind of process this and how do you categorize them into these categories, please?
Yeah, Tuomo, you can, I guess, answer from, I think quickly, Tuomo, from a technical perspective, we have certain type of indicators helping us to do that, obviously, from the technology perspective. But as Tuomo said, it's very human-centric. So Tuomo, please, if you, yeah.
So the basis of the analysis is meta S-curve analysis. So when we are studying the development of particular industry, for example, energy sector, we know that there are certain technologies or procedures that are already in the weakening phase. Then we see those things that are just emerging, potentially emerging to the sector. And those we consider like weak signals or strong signals, very early information of potential changes. And in between these weakening phase and these emerging wildcards, we have things that are either approaching the strong S-curve strengthening phase, or things that are already trends. And when we compare, we can map all the things that are taking place inside the particular industry. And once we get these new emerging things that we have observed, we compare it to the existing knowledge. And so is it related to the things that are already going to the trend phase, or is it something that it is still things that are at the weak signal, strong signal phase? And so that gives some meta understanding of what kind of things it is related, and we also compare it to other industries. For example, how right is virtual reality technology, for example, and in other industries, and based on that we make assessment what is the pace when it comes to the energy sector, for example. And we attempt to identify what kind of things are early trends or strengthening trends weak signals or weakening trends. But then we also have the wildcards. And wildcards, as yes, Saku is showing it here, wildcard is actually a projection of early information, how it may start evolving in the future. So for example, 6G technology, for example, it is at the moment weak or strong signal, but we can make assessment how it may go forward, how it may be in year 2020 and how it may be in 2040, and how it's going to, what kind of industry it's probably going to be generating around it. So we can make projections of things that we observe today and make these into wildcards. Potential changes, what if type of changes for the future. So so if we are not sure about the change, is it going to really be going like it has been presented? It's like a potential scenario where the probability of it becoming reality is something like from 5% to 30%. Then we call it a wild card. So the probability is quite low, then it is wild card. If the probability is quite high, it's more than 50% that it goes like presented, then we can call it emerging trend. And we use the green coloring. And if we assess that all the trends that assessments that we have seem to lead to weakening trend phase at some point. For example, in the case of fossil fuels, we use the blue color coding, but it's blue color coding after 2030 in our database, because all the data seems to refer that it's probably starting to reduce after 2030. So the peak oil is taking shape around there. So it's weakening trend, but not yet weakening. At that point, it's really weakening.
Perfect. Thank you for this answer. I think we're close. We need to close soon. But there is a question that I think we need to answer very quickly. Just if a quick 5 seconds. Sorry. Huh?
It would be nice if Soha could be answering a question.
Yeah, actually, it is actually, yes, as a question that is, I'd love to hear from Soha about her opinion about this. As Mr. Muhammad Shuman asked if such tools are just dedicated for government sector and decisions makers in the public sector, or if professionals like us working in the private sector, active in whatever area, are also, let's say, target segment for you, and that you think that this segment can benefit from the tools of the Futures platform?
Everybody should be having the capacity to be able to think about a future. So futures or foresight or futures thinking is a way to think about the future, and we should be all having the same skill. So we should all develop a futures mindset. And therefore, it's not only up to the decision makers to be learning about foresight, but it's up to everybody to be learning about it, and to know when you need an expert, and to know when this needs to go to the decision maker. So everybody, in my opinion, should know about foresight, whether they're professional and knowing about it in their field, or whether they're a decision maker. Of course, the further you go on into the hierarchy, it becomes more important, but the people who do the base work need to understand as well the trends and the signals that are happening, and the changes that are coming.
Perfect.
Thanks, Soha. And quickly add to that, definitely. So, but good thing to understand the different levels of maturity within an organization, and also to understand the people's different mindsets. And this could be the first step, trying to identify the future and foresight enthusiasts who could be the forerunners and take these issues forward. And then it's all about matter of organizing this work as well.
Perfect. Thank you for these answers. I think that's a very, very long let's say, discussion that we can get into here. There is a lot of interest, questions. I hope we will get back to our audience with other similar sessions to build on this knowledge and to improve in the future. And for those that have questions to our panelists, then you could send them emails. The emails are demonstrated now on the screen. And don't forget the link that we put in the chat that you can click on and book an appointment directly with Sako, who will be happy to discuss with you and to help you to navigate throughout this platform when you sign up. So I wish to thank, first of all, the panelists for your time today. I wish to thank Sako Koskinen, Dr. Tuomo Kuosa, and Suha Rashid. You've been really awesome, helpful into bringing up a knowledge that we really need in the Middle East, and we need in not just in one, let's say, industry, not just in the energy industry, but in every industry, transportation, public sector, energy, food, whatever industry you are in, you can benefit from such tools. And I encourage you to learn more about it and to get in contact with the teams, with the team in here. I wish to thank our awesome attendees and for their great questions that they have asked and for being with us. Sorry, we are a little bit 10 minutes late, but I think we had to take these couple of questions that we received and to answer you and to take advantage of having such an amazing panel here that answered your questions directly. I wish you all a very nice day ahead and looking forward to see you the next time. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, and really looking to see you in Salah.
Inshallah. Thank you all.
Bye.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.